Okay, so in our last video, I had talked about the idea that for me personally, leading up to the 1990s, right, for Wolverine, there were two good writers, Chris Claremont and Larry Hama. And guys, don't worry, it's not me going on a big, huge spiel once again on why I say these two guys were the best writers when it came to Wolverine. And the reason why I'm not doing that, because I kind of want to shift our focus onto Larry Hama. Here's the reason why, because no offense to Chris Claremont here, but for me personally, Larry Hama did the groundwork when it came to Wolverine in his origin. And technically, for a period of time, whatever Larry Hama told us, that was the origin for Wolverine until like Wolverine Origins in the mid 2000s and kind of changed everything for the character. But back then, it was Larry Hama, right? And so for Larry Hama, you kind of tell that he really did love the character a lot. And so sometimes he gives us all these different one-shots where it may seem like at first they're pointless, but in reality, they matter a lot when it comes to the character of Wolverine. And you see what I mean as we cover a couple more one-shots leading up into the big storyline that takes place in Wolverine issue number 100. And so getting into the opening pages for issue number 95, we really pick up with a character known as Cyber. Now, for Cyber, he's a classic old Wolverine villain, but around this time in Marvel Comics, he was actually freed by the Dark Riders. Now, the Dark Riders originally worked for Apocalypse, the whole idea of survival of the fittest. The strong may live, the weak may die, the strong may lead, the weak may follow. And so it came to Dark Riders, they follow Apocalypse, but around this time in Marvel Comics, Apocalypse is dead. He's no longer around, and so instead, you now have Genesis. Matter of fact, Apocalypse is not dead. I have no idea why I said that, but technically, he wasn't around for the Dark Riders to follow, and so instead, you had Genesis, the son of Cable, better known as Tyler Dayspring. Now, for Tyler, his next target is Wolverine, but we have no idea why just yet. All we know is that right now, part of his plan is to use Cyber. And so right now for Cyber, we're seeing him fight against a robot that's pretending to be Wolverine. Now, here's the thing about Cyber. Part of his body is covered in adamantium, and that right there will become very important for later parts of this video. But once you do have Cyber being able to take down this robot version of Wolverine, for the Dark Riders, they kind of like what they are seeing. But also they're saying like sooner or later, the adamantium on the body of Cyber will belong to them very soon. But now we switch over to Wolverine. Now, around this time in Marvel Comics for Wolverine, he was becoming more savage. And let me explain, because thanks to Charles Xavier, we had learned that when it came to Wolverine's mutation, originally he was supposed to slowly turn into a wild animal when it came to his mind. But thanks to adamantium being put on his bones by Weapon X, it stopped that process. Now, the problem was, thanks to Magneto over in Fatal Attractions, when he had ripped off the adamantium, the process was able to continue once again. And so with that happening, you now have Wolverine slowly turning into a savage type character. So we see him being watched over by two characters, Vindicator and Guardian, two members of Alpha Flight, but also close friends of Logan. And they're very concerned about the idea of Logan right now being in the city, away from Charles Xavier and the X-Men, because they are afraid of the possibility that with his savage side coming out more often, he might hurt somebody in the middle of the city. But for Logan, we're now seeing him walk around the city, where he's then confronted by a character known as Dirtbag. Now, for Dirtbag, his main goal is to trick Logan to come inside this building. Now, for Logan, it's a huge no, but Dirtbag does not give up that easily. As a matter of fact, you have Dirtbag try to offer Logan different types of things as a way to pull him in. But unfortunately, Logan does not get tricked by Dirtbag. But you did have Dirtbag go after a young boy who is easily tricked by him. Now for Logan, he knows what Dirtbag is trying to do. And so you have Logan pull out his claws to go confront Dirtbag. Now for Vindicator and also Guardian, they have been watching Logan and they were worried about this. The idea of Logan going savage on some innocent person in the city. But the problem is they don't know the full situation. And so either way, they do jump in to stop Logan. But that's the problem though, because now you have Dirtbag being able to get away, because for Guardian and Vindicator, they don't really know what exactly is going on here when it comes to Logan. All they saw was Logan had pulled out his claws on some, what they believe, an innocent person. Now, yes, the young boy was able to get away, but the problem is that Dirtbag also got away as well. Now, you do have our two young heroes take Logan away so that they are then able to have a private conversation about what exactly went down here. Now, as they're flying away, we do kind of get reminded that for Graydon Creed, he's trying to run for president. As we all know, Graydon Creed is the son of Mystique and also Sabretooth, but his main goal is to run for president as a way to attack the mutant race. And so the rest of the book, or really this issue alone, you really have more of Wolverine sitting down with both James and Heather Hudson, Guardian and also Vindicator. Now, here's the thing, because for Heather, she kind of realized that her husband is kind of very distant from Logan. And that's the problem right there, because these three characters, they used to be close friends. But it's James right now not showing Logan that trust or that friendship he needs at the moment. But in the middle of their conversation, you did have Logan realize that he has just picked up the scent of Dirtbag. The problem is that when he goes to confront Dirtbag, he does not find Dirtbag. Instead, he finds the young boy instead. And so the rest for issue number 95 is really more of us realizing that for Dirtbag, he is a mutant. As a matter of fact, it does seem like he is part of the Dark Riders. But for Dirtbag here, he has the ability to absorb other people and then take their form. Now, here's the thing, because the same shirt he wore earlier would also reappear on the new body that he had just taken over. And so right now, it's the young boy. Now, we do see him be able to absorb Wolverine. Here comes the big problem though. Wolverine's healing factor kicks in at the right time, and so it does not allow Dirtbag to be able to take over the body of Wolverine. Now, you do have Dirtbag take over the body of the Rat as a way to get away in the sewers to get away from Logan. But it's also him saying like, hey, my boss got some big plans for you coming down the road. Again, hinting at the idea that sooner or later we're going to see Tyler Dayspring try to go after Wolverine. But the problem is though, we have no idea what Tyler is truly up to. And so as we dive into issue number 96, we're really picking up with Wolverine, Storm, Cannonball, and also Caliban trying to climb up a mountain. Now, for Wolverine and Storm, they're really used to the idea of climbing up a mountain because they've been doing outdoor activities for most of their lives. But for Cannonball and Caliban, they're not really used to doing different types of outdoor activities, especially when it comes to climbing up a mountain. And so once you do have our heroes being able to make it to the very top of the mountain, for Wolverine, he wants to show off the sunset and show how beautiful it is on top of the mountain. But for Cannonball and for Caliban, they're kind of like, dude, you can see the sunset almost anywhere across the world. Like, why in the world did we have to climb up a mountain? But it's Storm and Wolverine saying like, you have to understand that sometimes you need to get outside to enjoy the outdoors, to absorb that energy that you can only get from being outdoors. Now, for our heroes, once they were able to set up camp in the mountains, you do have Cannonball kind of ask for, some stories about the early days of the X-Men, for Wolverine to share one of the early day stories. Now, for Wolverine, he does give Cannonball a story, but the problem is for Cannonball, he wanted a more exciting story. But for Wolverine, it's really more him saying like, hey, how good it is to have the X family around you. And for Logan, for him, that goes especially for Storm. You see, for Wolverine, right after he lost the love of his life, being Mariko, when it came to their wedding being canceled, you had Wolverine come home drunk pretty often. Now, you had Storm being able to pull Wolverine to the side one day and show him this special flower where it was supposed to grow a different type of way, but it grew differently. And so it's very rare, very special. It may look weird, but it's still a very special flower. And what Storm is saying that no matter what, everything deserves a tad bit of love. And so for Logan, she's saying for the X-Men, he's that special mutant. He's different from the others. But no matter what, he still deserves love. And so it's Storm saying, like, no matter what, I'm going to be in your corner. Now, while you do have our heroes kind of just chilling over the campfire, they don't have any idea that they're being watched by two people, Zoe Culloden and also her colleague Noah. Now, these two people, they work for Landau, Luckman, and Lake. Now, this company was supposed to be watching over Wolverine's assets, but as the stories goes on, we kind of figure out that there's something else going on with them, but we haven't learned just yet what's so special about them. Now, they're cloaked right now, so for Logan, he can't see them, but also for Logan, he does pick up on something. It's not them, it's the grizzly bear that came behind them. Now for Noah, he freaks out and blasts the bear, which of course makes the bear act more aggressive. Now you do have Zoe being able to get them out of there, but the bear is now kind of going crazy. Now, for most of the crew, they're also kind of freaking out because this bear is trying to kill them, but you have Logan stop everybody very quickly. And the reason why, because for Logan, he kind of realized what's going on with this bear. It's hurt, it's scared, and that is really it. Now, for Storm, she's very amazed about the idea that Logan was able to realize what's wrong with the bear. But as Logan saying, like, with him becoming more, aggressive, more animal-like, he kind of realized what's going on with the bear. Now, for Logan, he also kind of tells us that with him becoming more savage-like, more animal-like, he's beginning to see his friends a tad bit different, in a different type of light, meaning that he no longer really truly looks at them as just friends, that now he kind of looks at them as prey. Now, the rest of the book is really going to be more about, well, us see the death of Cyber. Yes, you heard that right. The death of Cyber. Let me explain here, because for Cyber, let's not forget, the dude has the adamantium bonded to his body. But for Tyler, he wants that adamantium. And so you have Tyler go ahead and release these bugs that begin to eat away at Cyber to only leave behind the adamantium, meaning that Cyber is officially dead in Marvel Comics until 5 years, because they always bring their characters back. But yeah, this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.